let's talk a little bit about cutting our military. Barack Obama was talking to the gentleman from Russia. And he said, wait till after my re-election. Let's talk a little bit
I'll have more flexibility.
I'll have more flexibility.
Well, that was the single most defining statement of your president's presidency. That is the agenda of the left. Now, the Soviets, the Russians, Cubans have been funding your US peace movement for decades.
Wait, say that again. Say it again.
The communists, the Soviets, the Russians, the Chinese, the Cubans have been funding the peace movement in this country for decades, because their big agenda, the number one priority for them, is to destroy your military, because there's only one thing standing between them and world domination, and that is your military and the ability of your taxpayers to fund it. And Obama has worked with people like Alice Palmer. She was a woman, the Illinois state senator, who got him his first job in politics, a long-time communist fronter. She was heavily involved with the Soviet Front World Peace Council. She is with the United States Peace Council, which is run by the Communist Party USA. So Obama has been hanging around with people for many years who've been trying to destroy your military. Now he is in the position to do it. When he talked to Mr. Medvedev, he was talking specifically about missile defense. And he said, give me some space. When I get re-elected, I'll have more flexibility to deal with you. And Medvedev says, yes, I understand. I'll pass your message on to Vladimir, meaning Mr. Putin. We are with you. Now, he said that basically what he said was, we are going to negotiate away all our military superiority in favor of you guys, and we're going to trust you to be our friends. Now, if you want to give the mafia all your guns and think they're going to leave you alone, you do that. But that is putting America at huge risk.
So what you're saying is the conversation was specifically about disarming our military missile defense system.
Yeah, that's what the subject, the first part of the conversation was about missile defense. And that's what he was on about. Now, you also have to look at Leon Panetta, your Secretary of Defense. Leon Panetta was best friends in Santa Cruz for many years with a secret Communist Party member called Hugh DeLacy. They had a whole bunch of correspondence, which I have. They were best friends, and it was all about cutting the US military, opposing Star Wars, opposing Reagan's battles with the communists in Latin America. It was all about the military. Hugh DeLacy was personally in correspondence with 4 known KGB agents.
Wow.
While he was friends with your Secretary of Defense.
Amazing.
Leon Panetta worked with members of Democratic Socialists of America. He had them on his campaign committees in Santa Cruz. He worked with Marxists his entire career. That guy could not, if he applied for a job as a janitor in any military base in this country, and he applied for an FBI security clearance, he wouldn't get it.
He wouldn't qualify.
Absolutely not, and neither would Mr. Obama.
You know, this is
scary,
mind-blowing, and it is scary, and it is time for us to awaken America to these truths. I know you were in the movie Agenda, and that's available. You also have a book that outlines a lot of these things, and I'm sure there's resources where people could go check this out for themselves. Sure. What is the title of your book, Mr. Loudon?
The book is called Barack Obama and the Enemies Within, and it's basically 700 pages of documenting Obama's connections to Marxists, socialists, and communists, the people who put him into power, and the people he has put into power since. The Van Joneses and the Valerie Jarretts and the David Axelrods and the John Holdrens and the Hilda Salises, all the Marxists around him and their agenda, where they want to take this country.
If people don't awaken during this election cycle on every level, from their county board levels to the state level, all the way up to the White House, what is America going to look like in the next 20 years?
Well, if Obama gets in again and he's got no restraints, your economy is going to be in the tank and your military is going to be virtually non-existent. You are going to have no ability to defend your country from your enemies, the Russians, the Chinese, the Cubans, the North Koreans, the Nicaraguans, Cubans, etc. You're going to have riots in your streets. You're going to have massive civil unrest. You're going to have some form of martial law, I believe, and things are not going to be happy. You know, this is going to be a rough place to be in. So America has got a chance at this election to get rid of this guy and the people around him. And if they don't take that chance, it's going to be tough.
And
real tough.
They've prepared. They are already prepared for that civil unrest, for the riots in the streets. They've already got these FEMA camps. And my brother,
you're sounding like crazy conspiracy theory.
My
Michael.
brother in South Carolina has been telling me about the development of one up in the mountains. He sees it. This is something he sees with his eyes. They are preparing for that unrest because they know it's going to come with the destruction of our economy.
Well, you know, I know we're going to be winding down here soon, but if there is a Mitt Romney presidency, this economy's breadth and depth is so deep. I mean, we're $16 trillion in debt. We have a lot of people that are hurting, that are poor. For us to turn this around is not going to, I mean, Mitt Romney's going to be president. It doesn't mean 6 months later this economy is going to start thriving. I still think there's going to be pain and suffering depending, no matter who's in office. I just think the next 3 years you'll start seeing some kind of turnaround if the lawmakers that are elected have the political will to do the right thing, and if the people actually awaken to what is actually happening.
Yeah. Now, this is a key thing. Like, the principles to turn this economy around are very well known. It's fiscal responsibility, cutting government spending, cutting taxation, and deregulating.
Yes.
If you do all those things really, really strongly, you'll do what happened in my country in '84. You'll get a short period of pain and a very strong economic rebound.
Right.
The danger, and it's simple. If Romney has the guts to do that, he can turn this economy around. If the other if there is that your foreign enemies will try and cause trouble, like the Chinese will probably attack the US dollar. So that will be a problem. So this is going to take a lot of guts and a lot of gumption by Mr. Romney. He's got to take on the unions, he's got to take on the Democrats, he's got to get the public on board, and he's got to come out and say, we have been living beyond our means, we're not going to hook up more credit cards, we're going to actually cut the federal government for the first time in our history in real terms, and we're going to cut taxes and deregulate and abolish whole departments that are holding Americans back, and we're going to get this country back on its feet. And if he does that openly and honestly, the public will follow him. If he doesn't do that, if he tries to just waffle and, you know, carry on, this country's in for major grief.
I'm hoping he's not going to be tentative, because I really believe, one, that the private sector is sitting on about $2 trillion right now, just because of the uncertainty. Meanwhile, we got Obama's 26 czars who have thrown out thousands of regulations on small business because they didn't want to see the private sector grow. I personally believe the purpose was to get Americans more dependent upon government.
Well,
but if Romney takes over and does exactly what you're talking about, and he's going to have to be bold, and I love the fact he picked up Paul Ryan, because Paul Ryan will attack the entitlements.
Yeah.
I believe 2013 can be an economic boom in this country like we haven't seen in 3 decades. But he's going to have to do it all, and he's going to have to go after the unions. And he's going to have to go after, you know, for years we've seen the Democratic Party, the Democrats, there's a lot of money going out here and there. They've gotten good. They've become professional at laundering taxpayer dollars to go into very specific groups, and that money is turned around and used in elections.
Easy.
Yeah. The principles to turn this country around are very obvious. What it is going to take is the political will to do it.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm hoping there's going to be another 10 Jim DeMints in your next Senate,
yeah,
and another 20 Alan West and Paul Ryan types in your next Congress. Because look, Romney will do what he's got the support to do.
Right.
And that's really what comes down to the Tea Party and the Conservatives in this country to give him that support.
And New Zealand did it. New Zealand quickly turned it around.
You know, before we check out here, one point. 1980, Ronald Reagan got elected. And I think he won pretty handily in 80. He was landsliding in 84. Yeah. But clearly Ronald Reagan's message was anti-communist. He was a huge free market, free person. If the American people understood that Barack Obama is the complete antithesis to Ronald Reagan, I think a lot of people, not saying that Mitt Romney is a Ronald Reagan,
sure.
but they are anti-Obama's ideology. You could see it. It's not that our country has changed all that much in the past 20, 30 years.
Well, that is why Romney has to clearly state where he is going to go. Look, if Romney just tries to be a moderate, you've got people who think wrongly that Obama is a moderate, who they know, versus Romney, who's also a moderate, and they're thinking, well, I'll vote for the moderate I know.
Right.
But if Romney clearly states, I am going to follow a Reagan-esque vision, I'm going to gut the federal government, I'm going to get the government off people's backs, and this is what I stand for. I stand for strong national defense, a free economy, and people living their own lives, and contrast that very strongly with Obama's vision. Yes, he can do it. But if he's just going to be the moderate and try and be all things to all people, he's not going to be enough of a contrast, and he runs the risk of losing.
Clearly, Paul Ryan is that contrast, and stay with us. We will have other updates to tell you the truth here from our Champion News Updates. Mr. Loudon, thank you so much. Your website again is?
Well, I have KeyWiki, Keywiki. That's my encyclopedia of the US left.
Okay.
I have a daily blog called trevorloudon.com. And also, if people want to order my book, Barack Obama and the Enemies Within, the best place to go is Pacific Freedom Foundation. Just Google Pacific as in the ocean, freedom as what we all want, and the foundation, and you can order my book online.
Well, thank you so much. Hope everybody has learned something. Remember, dig deeper,